You know the phrase, I am my worst critic? Well, our inner self is kind of mean. How many times have you told yourself, it's not going to happen, I just can't, I don't know how to do it? But why is that? Is it because as kids we were told criticism is good and this is how we're going to grow? Well, this is what I'm going to challenge today. I want together to ask the question, is it true? Is this the way to grow? Is this the way to develop? The basic question, is it really pushing us to be a better self towards our goals, our dreams, everything we talk about here, which is our personal development and growth? At the end, I'm going to talk about how to become more compassionate and understanding to yourself and how to manage this negative self-talk. Hi, if it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Adi and I'm a registered psychologist. I have a master's degree in clinical psychology and I help people achieve the life they want by finding the way to overcome the difficulties and struggles that hold them back. Together here, we try to figure out what's holding you back from your personal development and growth and from your own life goals. So please say hi in the comments down below. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I upload new videos every week on Tuesday, so if you like this content, please consider subscribing. So without further ado, let's start talking about it. So maybe we should start with what is self-talk. You've probably heard this term before. It's that inner voice that's talking to you. It's not actually talking to you, but it's the one debating with you throughout the day, telling you you should eat this, don't eat this, exercise, you're not doing it well, you should take this job. What am I thinking about this person or that person? It's actually there throughout the day and all through the night. How many times have you laid in bed and couldn't go to sleep? People always say their mind was running on high, kind of talking and thinking, and that's the inner voice. That's the one that's asking the question. You know, we can be there in bed, dead tired, and it just won't let go. What is it trying to tell us? What is it trying to say? This inner voice combines beliefs that you are aware and know of, like you were maybe never good at sports, but it also combines the biases and the things that we think about ourselves, like, I can't start running because I was never good at sports. Basically, it's our mind kind of translating and broadcasting our daily activities. It's imagined like a sports broadcaster is just telling us everything that's happened, translating in our mind. It's important to know that this internal chatter can be supportive and positive, but it can be very negative and very defeating. When it's supportive, when it's positive, it's very useful. It does push us forward, it helps us move on. But when it's negative, what happens? Unfortunately, our human nature is one that is kind of negative. It's the one that's telling us we can't do it. It's defeating us into not doing, not trying. It's that voice that stops you from doing the things that you really want. Often, this voice is not a true reflection of reality, and it paralyzes us into inaction and defeating mode. Its motives are good. It's there to protect us from failure, from shame, but at one point it becomes just paralyzing. It just won't let us move forward. Some people even say this inner voice is giving them self-discipline and it helps them be better, demand more of themselves. We have to remember that in time it takes a toll on us. This little voice inside of us takes actually a big emotional toll. On each it affects differently, and I'm here to ask how. Ask yourself, even now, before we continue, even write down in the comments below, how is it affecting me? What is that voice preventing me from doing? If you relate and you feel like you have this little inner voice, critical voice inside of you, don't worry, you're not alone. Every one of us has it. And it's actually there and it also helps us. We have to remember that sometimes it does us good. If we're gonna eat that donut and it tells us, maybe you shouldn't, it's asking the questions probably in the right points, but at what point it becomes excessive. And when it's a negativity and excessive negativity, when it's excessive negativity, we start asking ourselves, what is it? And that's when it becomes not just a self-talk, it actually becomes a negative self-talk. And maybe that's the point where we want to kind of move the projector or the light into it and ask ourselves, is it what we want for ourselves? Here in this channel, what we do is take kind of a big projector and just see the points in our lives that we would want to make better. So ask yourself, how negative is your voice? How is it affecting you? How much is it maybe controlling your life? Negative self-talk takes many forms, many voices. It can say you're not good at this, you were never good at that. Maybe even it's familiar. Maybe it's that parent that never believed in you, or a friend that said something mean when you were young. But I think today the main question is, what do we do with it? Studies have shown that this negative talk can lead to a decreased mode of motivation. It can cause depression and mental health issues just by having this negativity in our lives, keeping at our mind all the time. It's bringing you to a mode of limited thinking. The more you hear it, the more you start believing it. So when you say, I can't, at one point you're not going to try even. And it's also causing us to be perfectionists, because we start believing that perfectionism and perfect is there. And we need to push ourselves because it's never good enough. But is it really there? Maybe what you're doing is good. Maybe you are good. Before I go into the tips, I want you to remember that the bad thing about negative self-talk is that it's negative. And basically, it's not positive. While studies have shown that this negativity brings you down, it brings you lack of motivation, even depression or other mental health issues, positivity and self-positive talk actually brought and showed more success with people. It pushes you forward, it helps you. And unlike what we've been told maybe for years, criticism is good to some amount. And I think that also we can start asking ourselves, or ask yourself, what kind of criticism do I grow from? So why change it? Because you have the power to achieve the life you want. You can gain from it. You can start finding your own strength, which you never knew existed. So I'm going to give you a few tips. I always tell you how you can start today strengthening yourself and becoming more positive and starting to address this inner voice that's actually hurting you. So the first thing you need to do is start noticing. You have to start listening to yourself and actually start pinpointing the points in your day that you feel like, okay, maybe this is criticism. Start listening to that voice. When it's telling you you can't do it, you can't you can't eat right, you can't exercise, you can't write the blog you've always wanted, you can't take that job. Start listening and noticing that you do it. Remember that thoughts and feelings aren't representative of reality. You have to start questioning it. First thing you're going to do is notice it, but then when you tell yourself this is how things are, start questioning it. Remind yourself that it's not a good representation of the reality. And maybe you should start thinking, giving it an alternative thought to I can't. Maybe I can't can become I can't right now. Why? And analyze how you can maybe start doing it. But remember that this tip talks about changing your state of mind, understanding that it's not a sure representation of reality. The next tip, and I know it's going to sound weird, but try giving your personal critic self-talk a nickname. If you remember in Saturday Night Live, there was a character called Debbie Downer. She would look at things like in a bad way, always had a negative feeling or something to say about every situation. So give it a funny nickname to your inner critic. Giving that name would actually kind of detach it from yourself, and it makes it easier to look at it and say, okay, it's doing it again. Maybe I cannot agree with it. It's going to make it easier actually to disagree with it, to question it, to see it, and maybe start choosing differently. The fourth tip is actually changing the negativity to neutral statements. Because even if you notice that you're being critical, it's sometimes difficult to make yourself stop or change the thought, but you can change the tone. If you say, I can't do it, you can say instead, it's hard to do it, it's difficult, or maybe I hate this can become to I don't like, I don't prefer. When we tone it down, it makes it easier to cope and even again to challenge and change. Remember then when your language is more gentle, it's easier to tone it down, to mute it, even to not, it's not going to be as powerful on us. The next tip is think like a friend. Ask yourself, what would I have told my friend in the same situation? You'll find out that we're more gentle with our friends, our kids, than with ourselves. Again, remember what I started with. I am my worst critic. So next time that you notice that you're doing it, ask yourself, what would a friend tell me? Or even more powerful, what would you tell a friend? You're going to see it's going to be more gentle and actually more productive and more building. The next tip is trying to shift your perspective. Ask yourself, how much is this affecting me in the long term? Sometimes things can seem a certain way in the short term, but when we look at it from afar, or like thinking 5 years, 10 years ahead, it makes the perspective better. The next tip is try to say it out loud. But even telling a friend, it can bring you, maybe both of you can laugh about it, or it can give a different perspective, or even just support for feeling this way, for being in this situation. Again, say it out loud. Try it today. The next tip is, it sounds easy, but it's not. And I'm gonna give you a specific tip on how to do it today, but it's trying to replace the negativity with positivity. And no, I don't believe in convincing yourself that everything is good and you're great at everything, at anything. No, try today to make a list of, first of all, the things that you have in your life, the things that you like about yourself, the good qualities that you have, the people in your life that are pushing you forward, that you're happy that they're there. This list can help you with time understand what are the things that you can do. What are the things that you can start challenging that maybe you thought you'd never be able to do, and today you can start seeing it in a different light. Change negativity to positivity. It takes time, but start with that list. Write it down today. Last, and again, I always say it, definitely not least, try to refrain from acting on negative self-talk. Sometimes it seems like it's going to be better to just listening to it and not doing. But I'm going to challenge you and say, wait a moment. We started with noticing, now stop. Think about it. Don't act on it. Remember that you're starting to build a new conversation with yourself. It's going to take time building it, but it's important to not be impulsive, not be spontaneous about it, and start questioning it. So don't act on it. Changing your self-talk and your inner critic, it takes time and it's a process, and it's okay. Even if you won't be able to do it today, choose one tip that helped you. Try even commenting down below. Tell me which one you were most relating with and try it today. Remember that changing it not only takes time, but it's been years that we hear that criticism and being mean to ourselves helps, and it's building us. So it's going to be a while until you understand that being compassionate with yourself and understanding is actually better, and it's actually bring you one step closer towards your personal development, growth, and your life's goal, or life goals. Depends on wherever you are in that process or that journey. But it takes time. Be gentle. Remember the key: compassion, understanding. Be kind to yourself. You deserve it. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Again, comment below. Tell me which one of the tips spoke to you more, the one that you're gonna implement today. If it's one, maybe two. Don't forget to like this video. Please subscribe. I'm going to remind you that every week on Tuesday, I'm here talking to you about life's difficulties, struggles, and together we're going to make it. We're going to go towards personal development, growth, and your own personal goals. So until the next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Bye.